Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our second July Growing Readers Together QuickBites 20-minute topics in early learning from the Colorado State Library's Growing Readers Together program. If you have any tech issues today during the presentation, you are welcome to message the Colorado State Library account directly, and Christine will do what she can to help you out if you end up running into any trouble during our little quick presentation today. My name is Kate Brunner. I am one of the early learning librarians for the Growing Readers Together initiative at the Colorado State Library. Together with Melody Garcia, she and I provide early learning support to libraries across Colorado who are interested in participating in Growing Readers Together and in continuing to develop their early learning programs, services, and outreach in their libraries. The Growing Readers Together program is an early childhood program in Colorado, and we are focused on working with libraries and family, friend, and neighbor caregivers, are often referred to as informal caregivers or kith and kin caregivers. These are adults and sometimes teens who are caring for young children who are not their own, potentially family members, next door neighbors, friends, all sorts of alternative informal care environments. And Growing Readers Together supports library service to these FFN caregivers. So we work with libraries across Colorado to help connect with those caregivers in their communities and provide them early learning and early literacy support so that they're aware of the resources that libraries provide and the community partnerships and relationship building that libraries in their communities can provide them while they are caring for young children in Colorado. So today, as part of our topics in early learning, we're going to talk about early numeracy, so early math skills. And we're going to explore a little bit around whole child early learning. We're going to talk about the numeracy-literacy connection, the connections between early math and early reading or early print literacy skills. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about what early numeracy or early math learning in libraries might look like. So in Colorado, the Office of Early Childhood has published Colorado Early Learning and Development Guidelines. And these really take a whole child approach to early learning and development. And they address many different domains of development and learning for young children. And you can see this holistic model that's created as sort of a wheel. And this image from the Early Childhood Leadership Commission in Colorado. And these domains include physical health and development, language and literacy, cognitive development, social emotional development, and what we call in Colorado approaches to learning. And some of that is like executive function and things like that. So this involves many different domains of a young child's early learning and development, which all then contribute and lead to healthy, thriving young people. And both print literacy and numeracy are a part of this. And all of these domains are related to each other. Development in one domain usually supports development in another. You know, for example, we often, in libraries when we're talking about print literacy, we often connect motor skill development to early writing skills, right? Those things are connected. They're not separate. One complements the other, right? And it is the same with numeracy and literacy as well, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. And then young children are actually developing a lot of skills in these different domains as they grow. And so if we're just talking about numeracy and literacy, you know, we know that toddlers, you know, are developing initial print awareness and they're building their vocabularies. They are also developing number sense and spatial relationships, classification, and problem-solving skills. And the Colorado Early Learning and Development Guidelines really go into this and give some great ideas about activities that you can do with children to help foster these skills, both these literacy and numeracy skills. And then preschoolers, you know, they're continuing to develop their print knowledge, their phonological awareness, and their early writing, right? But they are also developing number concepts and basic operations, algebraic thinking, measurement, data, geometry, symbolic representation, and reasoning. So all of that is all happening along with all of those print literacy skills that they're developing at the same time. And the early learning and development guidelines really help show that, help show how all of these domains contribute to healthy, thriving young people. And then another source for this is also the Reimagining School Readiness Project out of the Center for Childhood Creativity at the Bay Area Discovery Museum in California. And they have published a series of reports that include examining early numeracy and school readiness from this whole child perspective. And numeracy is an important part of early learning, they found, that is supported through play-based learning, hands-on exploration, and language-rich environments with interactive discourse. Reimagining School Readiness also addresses language and literacy development, as well as early science learning, social emotional learning, executive function development, physical health and development, and sees all of these different pieces as vital to a child's holistic early learning and school readiness. So a lot of the material coming out of the Bay Area Discovery Museum really encourages community-based education spaces like libraries and museums to really think about early childhood as this incredibly rich, holistic early learning and development phase in children's lives. So we're talking specifically about early numeracy today, and so I want to talk a little bit about what that is. And here you can see, it encompasses a lot of different aspects. And again, children are developing in age-appropriate, developmentally appropriate ways. So when we say that they're developing algebraic thinking, they're not solving for x, right? But as they explore patterns, and look at how to manipulate patterns, they are actually engaging in some early algebraic thinking. So early numeracy includes number sense and operations. So that's more what we think about, like counting and learning what your numbers are and putting things in order. And then very, very simple addition and subtraction, and when we talk about geometry and spatial sense, in those early years, they're learning about shapes, and they're learning how to manipulate objects in space. And, when something is on top of the table or under the table, they're developing spatial sense around that. And then again, measurement. Again, they're not taking exact measurements, right, and not learning units and that sort of thing, but they can measure, quantity. They can look and they can see, that their older sibling has a bigger cup than they do, or they have more juice in their cup. And so they are looking at quantity and comparing quantities, right? And then, like we said, patterns and algebraic thinking. And then this idea of data analysis and classification. Sorting is part of that. And then using information, like they know that the tiny block won't balance the bigger block on top of it, and they're using what they know about that when they play with blocks. So it's that idea of data analysis. And then throughout all of this, they're developing creativity and reasoning, so those problem-solving skills, and then communicating about how they're choosing to solve problems. So young children are capable of engaging in all of these sorts of activities, which are all developing their early mathematical skills and early mathematical thinking. And what we are learning is that there are some really profound connections between numeracy and literacy. There is this growing body of literature that shows that these things are they're very connected to each other, which is different than how we typically think of print literacy and early numeracy. I think we have thought about them as separate domains of development, separate skill sets. So we separate activities designed to build these skills, right? But what research is demonstrating is that there are many, many cognitive connections between print literacy and early numeracy, between concepts like letter knowledge and rhyming, and concepts like number knowledge and basic operations. And what the research is showing is that language is a major connecting factor. So facilitated reasoning about relationships, be those numbers or letters, and then talking about that, using language to describe that, and using narrative skills in problem solving, both in a reading format, like what's going to happen next in the story, like how is this character going to get out of this predicament they're in, and math problem solving. Those are very related, and language, using them. And mathematical language, is present in children's vocabulary as early as age 3. They're already using quantitative and spatial language by that age. But where that language comes from is their environment and their caregivers and the activities that they can engage in those environments. So intentional interaction around mathematical activity and language bolsters both math and reading skills. And you know, one of the really interesting pieces that comes out of the Bay Area Discovery Museum's reports is that they outline studies that are demonstrating that foundational mathematical understanding is the strongest predictor of school success. So strong foundational print literacy by itself only predicts reading achievement later, but strong foundational numeracy is commonly accompanied by also by strong early literacy, and that strong foundational early numeracy is a predictor of both math and reading achievement all the way up through high school. So early numeracy supports the development of literacy in addition to the development of math achievement. And two particular skills when it comes to early math seem to be very key with this, one of which is called ordinality. And ordinality is a concept that means that children are able to associate words for numbers, and that those numbers represent a quantity, and then that quantity is fixed. So that 4 of something is always more than 3 of something, and they understand that. So that's this idea of ordinality. And then the other one is their ability to subitize. And to subitize is to be able to see a small quantity and then know how much it is without counting. So if you think when you roll a die and you see the number come up on the die, you know it's 5, you don't have to count the dots, right? Or if you see a group of pencils on the table, you know it's 3 pencils, you didn't have to count them out. And that's subitization. And these two concepts, these two major early numeracy skills, have been linked to both higher reading fluency by 3rd grade and mastery of algebraic concepts before high school. Just working on those 2 skills with young children. So environments that foster early numeracy, right? What do they look like? They're engaging, encouraging, interactive, play-based environments for children to have early encounters with mathematical language and concepts, right? They're environments that encourage curiosity, imagination, flexibility, inventiveness, and persistence. And to me, that sounds like a library. A library can be one of those environments that allows children to explore early mathematics and to engage in play-based learning around early numeracy. So how can we do that in libraries? So there are some key pieces that are evidence-informed practices that can help us work early numeracy into our early childhood programming in libraries. And the first of this is coming back to language again. So using, sharing, and modeling mathematical and spatial language. And again, we're not talking about super fancy terminology, right? We're talking about more than, less than, above, below, beside. All of these are mathematical and spatial language that we can help give children in our programs, depending on what activities we're doing, what books we're choosing, talking about illustrations in books, engaging kids with activities. And then engaging in what we call inquiry-based problem solving. So asking them questions and letting them mess around and play with mathematical and spatial activities. And again, these don't have to necessarily be fancy. Block play is a really great example of this. Like lots of libraries have block play programs. And, you know, asking kids a question, like how high do you think you could build a tower? Or what would happen if you only used the blue blocks for this, like, and built something with just the blue blocks? You know, asking them different open-ended problems that they can then play with and manipulate objects in space to engage in those spatial activities. Or how many blocks would it take you to make a tower this high, you know? So lots of different inquiry-based ideas to give them a challenge and let them explore and let them mess up and try again. And that also goes into that providing opportunities for children to both explore and explain, and then modeling that for caregivers. You know, when a child builds a tower with their blocks and they're so excited about the tower that they've built, you know, ask them questions. Ask them to explain how they built the tower. You know, if you see a child who builds a tower and it falls down, they build a new one, you know, ask them why they think that one stayed up and the other one fell over, and give them an opportunity to explain. Giving children that explanatory opportunity helps them develop that language, that mathematical and spatial language. It actually helps them develop those narrative skills as well that will reinforce print literacy. And they will retain more from the experience if they are given the opportunity to explain about their observations, about what they think is happening, and to engage in interactive dialogue with you as the librarian who's helping facilitate the program, or also modeling that for caregivers, then hopefully for caregivers in whatever environment they're in. And then a last piece of this is that it is actually very important for children to continue to engage in mathematical learning and thinking, for them to really embrace what Carol Dweck calls growth mindset, this sort of buzzword that's come out there wrong, growth mindset. But this idea of that it's okay to mess up and try again, and keep trying. And it's okay if something is challenging, and there can be fun and joy in that. And one of the ways that we can help foster that in our library programming is to model what praising their process looks like, or praising effort looks like, and really, engaging in oh, I saw you tried to build that tower 3 times and it fell down, and you kept going. That was really great that you just kept going and kept trying, and modeling that sort of praise. When children are given the sort of environment to explore, they are more likely to take on bigger, more complex problems as they grow, and more likely to engage in math as fun and play, and continue to strengthen those skills. So I also wanted to share with you all some additional resources where you can kind of learn more about early math learning. And one of those resources is the California Early Math Symposium that they have. This is an annual event that usually happens online, and they have archived past sessions. So the link here on this slide that Christine put in the chat, thank you very much for that, is the archive from the most recent session from 2021. On their site, they also have archived past sessions, and there are lots of wonderful presentations on what early math learning can look like in a play-based, hands-on, interactive, inquiry-based way, and lots of those activities translate really well to libraries, to either self-directed programs, stations you might have in your children's area, or to engaged programming where you can take these activities and pair them with books and do sort of a mathematical themed or spatial themed story time. There are also lots of activities available from the Bay Area Discovery Museum and their Reimagining School Readiness project. They maintain an activity database, and you can poke around in there for lots of activities, not only for math learning, but also for early science learning and other early literacy activities as well. That is a wealth of activities that they use at the Bay Area Discovery Museum that are really wonderful to use in libraries and library programming. So, and then finally, I really just want to encourage you all to explore Dr. Jo Boaler's work. She's written several books, What's Math Got to Do with It, and Mathematical Mindset, and her most recent is Limitless Mind. And she actually spoke at the 2021 Early Math Symposium about early math learning and how important that is, and how it connects with other aspects of development. And how we can foster that for young children and model that for caregivers so that they're able to include it in their daily care and learning as well. She did say she is working on an updated edition of Mathematical Mindset, so she did not say when that's coming out yet, but that is also just kind of a great book to see how mathematical thinking is such an important part of early learning and actually of our lives as adults as well. So, and she has a wonderful website that also includes activities and more information about this. So there are also some upcoming learning opportunities if you're interested in learning a little bit more about this idea of whole child early learning and these connections between numeracy and literacy. And for Colorado librarians, we do have a state level training coming up on August 18th. I think we have a few slots left for our online Reimagining School Readiness training. And Beth Christ, our Youth and Family Services consultant at the State Library, and Melody Garcia, the other GRT librarian, are going to be facilitating that. So you do need to register so we can send you some supplies via the courier. So you want to sign up on that one. And then we are also going to be offering the Reimagining School Readiness Training as a pre-conference session at the CLEL conference October 6th through 8th. And so the Reimagining School Readiness Training will take place on October 6th, and that will be open to all conference participants, not just Colorado librarians. And so I don't think registration is open for that yet, but you can kind of follow what's going on with the CLEL conference and when that registration opens by checking out the conference website. Okay, I lost the connection there for a second. Also for Colorado libraries, that Growing Readers Together has a lot of opportunities to engage in looking at how you want to continue to develop your early learning spaces, program services, or outreach at your library. So we have a Play, Learn, and Grow programming model that we can bring to your Colorado library in person or online. Or you are also always welcome to just reach out to chat with me or Melody about what's going on with early learning in your library and what you're thinking about how you might want to continue to develop all of that. So currently I am kind of covering all the libraries on the Western Slope, and that's my contact information there. And anyone who has any questions about this presentation is also welcome to contact me. And then Melody is covering the Front Range and the Eastern Plains. And if you fall somewhere in between there and you're not quite sure who to contact, just pick one of us and we'll get you to the right person. So that's our presentation for today. And we love getting our feedback and adjusting these presentations to help meet people's needs about different topics that they're interested in early learning. So if you do have opportunity to fill out the short feedback survey, we would really appreciate that. And I can stick around just for a tiny bit if anybody has questions in the chat. I am happy to engage those. But I just want to say thank you all for coming today, and I hope that this was helpful to you in your early learning programming and services in your library.